Tensions in the Middle East escalated dramatically yesterday, sending ripples of concern through the international community. An Iran-backed militia launched a drone attack on Haifa, Israel, a city known for its strategic importance and bustling port activities. The drones, originating from Iraqi territory, targeted critical infrastructure in the port city, marking a significant escalation in the ongoing conflict. The attack was meticulously planned, with the drones navigating a complex flight path to avoid detection. While there were no reported casualties, the attack sent shockwaves through the region, raising fears of a wider conflagration. Emergency services were quick to respond, working through the night to assess the damage and secure the area. This attack represents a dangerous new phase in the region's volatile security environment. Military forces across the Middle East have been placed on high alert with increased patrols and heightened security measures. It demonstrates the willingness of Iran-backed militias to directly target Israeli territory, potentially igniting a broader conflict. The use of drones highlights the evolving nature of warfare in the region, where technology plays an increasingly pivotal role. The international community condemned the attack, urging all parties to exercise restraint and prevent further escalation. Diplomatic channels have been buzzing with activity as world leaders seek to mediate and de-escalate the situation. This latest incident comes amidst heightened tensions between Israel and Iran, with both sides engaging in a shadow war for years. The history of animosity and conflict between these two nations adds a layer of complexity to the current situation. It highlights the volatile nature of the Middle East, where even seemingly isolated events can quickly spiral out of control. Protests have erupted in various cities, with people expressing their fears and frustrations over the escalating violence. The coming days will be crucial in determining whether this attack leads to a wider conflict or serves as a wake-up call for de-escalation. Political analysts are closely monitoring the situation, offering insights and predictions on potential outcomes. Peace talks are being proposed, but the path to resolution remains uncertain. The Middle East has a long history of conflict and geopolitical shifts, making any escalation particularly concerning. Diplomatic negotiations will be key in navigating this complex landscape and preventing further violence. The human cost of these conflicts cannot be overlooked. Humanitarian aid organizations are preparing for a potential increase in refugees and displaced persons, as families are forced to flee their homes in search of safety. International peacekeeping forces may be called upon to help stabilize the region, but their presence alone may not be enough. The United Nations and other global organizations are advocating for a peaceful resolution, while protests for peace are taking place around the world. The hope is that through dialogue and diplomacy, a peaceful resolution can be achieved. Middle Eastern leaders are engaging in discussions, drawing on historical peace agreements as a framework for potential solutions. The world watches with bated breath, hoping for a future where unity and peace prevail over conflict and division. The Islamic Resistance in Iraq, an Iran-backed militia operating within Iraqi borders, has claimed responsibility for the drone attack on Haifa. This group, known for its militant activities and strong ideological stance, has been a significant player in the region's ongoing conflicts. Their involvement in such high-profile attacks underscores the volatile nature of the Middle Eastern geopolitical landscape. In a statement released shortly after the attack, the group stated their actions were in retaliation for Israeli airstrikes on their positions in Syria. The statement was filled with rhetoric condemning Israeli actions and justifying their own as a necessary defense. This tit-for-tat dynamic has been a recurring theme in the region, where one act of aggression often leads to another, perpetuating a cycle of violence. They characterized the drone strike as a justified response to Israeli aggression and vowed to continue their resistance against Israel. The aftermath of the drone attack was devastating, with significant damage reported. This incident has not only heightened tensions but also raised questions about the future stability of the region. This claim highlights the complex web of alliances and rivalries that define the Middle Eastern landscape. The region is a patchwork of conflicting interests, with various groups and nations vying for power and influence. The alliances are often fluid, with groups like the Islamic Resistance in Iraq aligning themselves with powerful backers like Iran to further their own agendas. The Islamic Resistance in Iraq, while operating within Iraq, maintains close ties with Iran and shares its anti-Israeli stance. This relationship is emblematic of the broader regional dynamics where Iran's influence extends through various proxy groups. These groups often act as extensions of Iranian policy, carrying out operations that align with Tehran's strategic objectives. Their actions demonstrate how conflicts in one part of the region can quickly spill over into others, drawing in various actors with different agendas. The interconnected nature of these conflicts means that a flare-up in one area can have ripple effects across the region, complicating efforts to achieve lasting peace. The group's statement further underscores the precarious security situation in the region. With multiple factions operating with varying degrees of autonomy and support, maintaining stability is a constant challenge. Security forces are often on high alert, prepared for the possibility of sudden escalations. Their vow to continue their resistance suggests a willingness to engage in further attacks, raising concerns about a cycle of violence and retaliation. This commitment to ongoing conflict indicates that the region may face continued instability, with the potential for more destructive incidents in the future. With tensions already running high, the international community faces a significant challenge in containing the situation and preventing a broader conflagration. Diplomatic efforts are crucial in this context, as global leaders work to mediate and de-escalate the situation. The role of international organizations such as the United Nations becomes increasingly important in coordinating a response and seeking peaceful resolutions. The ongoing conflict also has severe humanitarian implications. Displaced families and communities bear the brunt of the violence, with many forced to flee their homes. Aid organizations are often stretched thin, trying to provide relief in an environment where security is tenuous at best. The history of the Middle East is marked by long-standing disputes and recurring conflicts. Understanding this historical context is essential for grasping the current situation. The roots of today's tensions can often be traced back decades, if not centuries, highlighting the deep-seated nature of these issues. Despite the challenges, efforts towards peace continue. Negotiations and ceasefire agreements, though fragile, represent glimmers of hope. The path to lasting peace is fraught with obstacles, but the determination of those involved in peace talks is a testament to the enduring desire for stability and harmony in the region. The drone strike on Haifa cannot be viewed in isolation. It comes amidst a backdrop of ongoing conflicts involving Israel, Gaza, and Lebanon, adding another layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. In Gaza, tensions remain high following recent clashes between Israel and Hamas, the Palestinian militant group that controls the territory. Meanwhile, in Lebanon, Hezbollah, another Iran-backed group, maintains a significant military presence and has engaged in past conflicts with Israel. These interconnected conflicts create a highly combustible environment where any escalation in one area can quickly ignite tensions in another. The drone attack from Iraq adds a new dimension to this complex web of conflict. It demonstrates the reach and capabilities of Iran-backed militias, who can now threaten Israel from multiple fronts. This development further complicates any prospects for a peaceful resolution to the ongoing conflicts. Adding fuel to the fire, Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei issued a series of stark warnings in the wake of the drone attack. His words have sent shockwaves through the international community, raising concerns about the potential for further conflict in an already volatile region. In a televised address, he condemned Israel as a cancerous tumor that needs to be removed and vowed to support any group fighting against Israeli aggression. This statement has been met with outrage from various global leaders who see it as a direct incitement to violence and a significant escalation in hostile rhetoric. He also warned the United States against intervening in the conflict, stating that any attack on Iran would be met with a crushing response. This warning has heightened fears of a potential military confrontation between Iran and the United States, which could have devastating consequences for the entire region. Khamenei's inflammatory rhetoric further raises the stakes in the region and increases the risk of miscalculation. The possibility of a misstep leading to a full-blown conflict is now more real than ever, with both sides on high alert and ready to respond to any perceived threat. His threats against both Israel and the United States create a dangerous dynamic that could quickly escalate into a wider conflict. The military presence in the region has already been ramped up, with both Israeli and American forces on standby, prepared for any eventuality. His words are likely to further inflame tensions and make it more difficult to find a diplomatic solution. Protests have erupted in various parts of the Middle East, with demonstrators expressing both support and opposition to Khamenei's statements, adding to the already tense political environment. The international community has condemned Khamenei's statements, urging all parties to engage in dialogue and avoid further escalation. Leaders from around the world have called for calm and restraint, emphasizing the need for diplomatic efforts to resolve the crisis. However, with such bellicose rhetoric coming from Iran's highest authority, the path to de-escalation remains uncertain. The situation is precarious, and the world watches with bated breath, hoping that cooler heads will prevail, and that a peaceful resolution can be found before it's too late. Diplomatic channels are being explored, with various countries offering to mediate and facilitate talks between the involved parties. The hope is that through dialogue and negotiation, a peaceful solution can be reached, averting the catastrophic consequences of a potential war. The stakes are incredibly high, not just for the nations directly involved, but for the entire world. The humanitarian impact of a conflict in the Middle East would be devastating, with countless lives at risk and the potential for widespread suffering and displacement. In these trying times, the international community must come together to promote peace and stability. It is crucial that all efforts are made to de-escalate the situation and find a path forward that ensures the safety and well-being of all people in the region. In response to the escalating tensions, the United States has deployed 2 B-52 strategic bombers to the Middle East. The bombers, capable of carrying nuclear weapons, arrived at a U.S. airbase in Qatar, sending a clear message of deterrence to Iran and its allies. The deployment is intended to demonstrate American resolve and its commitment to protecting its allies in the region, particularly Israel. The presence of these bombers significantly increases the military capabilities available to the U.S. in the region. This move is widely seen as a precautionary measure to deter further aggression by Iran or its proxies. However, it also carries the risk of further inflaming tensions and prompting miscalculations. While the U.S. maintains its commitment to diplomacy, the deployment of B-52 bombers underscores the seriousness with which the Biden administration views the situation. It remains to be seen whether this show of force will contribute to de-escalation or further entrench the existing divisions.